guys, it's Aoife from Fred VC Died Laughing, and I am here with my weekly wrap up. I got 4 books read this week, and the first book I want to talk about is an audiobook that I listened to, and that is Nexus by Sasha, Alsberg and Lindsay Cummings. This is the second book in the Androma saga, which the first book was Zenith, which came out last year. And as I said, this is one that I did pick up an audiobook, and it had a full cast narration. So this book obviously carries on with a lot of stuff that happens at the end of Zenith, which obviously I can't really talk about because it would be spoilers, but we are basically following this kind of space pirate captain with a kind of shadowy past. Her name is Andy, and we are following her as she basically tries to save the universe. She seems to be the only person who is kind of has the means to possibly save humanity from something terrible. I think overall I liked this one a little bit better than Zenith. Enjoyable, it was fine, but it wasn't anything mind-blowing, and I did have some problems with some characters and the way descriptions are written and stuff like that, and some of those problems were still evident in this one. The plot was done quite well. I do still think both of these books were both longer than they could have been, and Nexus in particular, in Zenith we get kind of this full cast of characters. We have Andy, we have her love interest Dex, and then we have a few different people who are kind of in Andy's crew, kind of her space pirate crew in a way, who are all kind of weird and wonderful in their own way and are all really, really interesting characters. In Nexus, it seemed like the only character we were really truly following was Andy. There's only we got like a lot of different points of views, but it seemed like the main story was obviously going through Andy. I saw not a lot of the characters that I did really enjoy in the first book, and I really would have liked a lot more from them in this book, and we just didn't get a lot of them at all, which was disappointing for me. There was a kind of lot of filler in this book at some points. I feel like the story didn't really get going until maybe the end of the first half maybe, and then I did kind of like how it all ended up. I will say nothing in it was mind-blowing, nothing shocked me in any way, and I will say I do actually quite enjoy this world as well, this space world. I don't question, I've seen a few like reviews criticize kind of like the science in this world and stuff like that, but I don't find that a problem. So I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars overall, and it was fine. It was nothing mind-blowing, but I'm glad to have just finished off the duology. The next book I finished was Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This is a very fun Mayan inspired book. It is set in like the 1927, it is, yeah, so it's in Mexico 1927. We are following this young woman called Cassiopeia. She is not treated very well by her family. She's kind of basically used as a servant in a way. Like, she looks after her grandfather. She's treated by dirt by like her male cousin. She's kind of starting to realise that she's probably going to be trapped in this life for the rest of her life, that she might not ever be able to go anywhere and fulfill the dreams that she wants to fulfill. And then one day she, when all her family are out, she is able to open this box in her grandfather's room, and this kind of casket that is always closed, and this kind of skeleton is in there, and it comes to life, and it turns out this is the skeleton of this Mayan god who's been trapped in this box for hundreds of years, and her grandfather was kind of this human accomplice to this Mayan god's brother who had trapped him, so he could basically be the lord of the underworld, and now Cassiopeia ends up having to go on an adventure with this god whose name is Hunkame, and she ends up having to go on an adventure with him through South America and some parts of North America, to basically gather some parts of his body that have been placed in different areas by his older brother, to try and reduce his power. And basically his aim is to become a full god again, and Cassiopeia has to help him do that. But the two of them end up having this kind of really sweet friendship that kind of turns into a blossoming romance. So we are just following their adventures, and this is just a really fun book. I saw this, I think it was Adriana from Perpetual Pages on Goodreads, and they described this book as kind of American Gods meets Mayan Cinderella, and I thought that was a really, really good description of this book. There's a lot of like fun, fantastical elements of this that are a little bit fairy tale-esque, because a lot of this is based on Mayan mythology, I guess, and Mayan, what people know about like kind of the Mayan religions, and a lot of what we're hearing from the gods is that they were created through human imagination, and everything that they live and breathe has been born through human imagination, which I just love that idea. Cassiopeia as a character is just really wonderful to follow her character growth. As soon as I kind of started reading her, I was reminded of that scene in The Holiday where the old man character is talking to Kate Winslet's character and saying that she has gumption, and Cassiopeia in this book has gumption. She's a character with gumption, and I loved that about her. Just the different kind of interaction she would have with both, not just Hunkame but other gods, and she is just so plucky, and she knows who she is and she knows what she wants, and she is just so courageous at times and so straightforward, and I just love her for that. And I just loved her being able to step outside of the world that she's been trapped in for so long and seeing what else is out there and her own wonder at the world as well. And it was so lovely to see her grow into that world and accept the lovely things that she could experience. And yeah, that was really, really enjoyable. There was just something really tender as well about Hunkame and Cassiopeia's relationship, and the way, like, it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was steamy in any way or over the top. It was very gentle and there was a tenderness to it, and it kind of felt like this lovely sigh. I don't know if that makes sense, but it felt like a sigh that is just, you know, deep in your soul. It kind of felt a little bit like that, and I loved that about it. I really, really enjoyed reading them and reading their relationship, and yeah, I just really, really enjoyed this book. I gave it a strong 4 out of 5 stars. I really recommend it. This is a book as well that I kind of wanted to take my time with as well. It wasn't one that I wanted to speed read through. Not that I speed read, but I just tend to read fast. But this is one that I found myself actively slowing down when I was reading it, because I wanted to take in the world so much, and I wanted to take in all of this kind of these stories about like Mayan gods, mythology that I've never heard about before, and I really wanted to take that in and learn something from it as well. So yeah, this was one that I kind of liked, that it made me slow down a little bit. The next book I read was a short book. It was about 200 pages and I got it from NetGalley. It was Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I'm not sure if I said that right. It is a Japanese story and a Japanese author. This, as I said, is a short, cute novel with a little bit of magical realism in it. It is about this cafe in Tokyo, and this cafe is famed for being able to allow its patrons to travel back to the past. But there are 3 rules. Only able to travel back to the past to meet someone who has visited the coffee shop before. They have to sit in this very particular seat in the coffee shop that is sometimes hard to get because there's actually a ghost that haunts that seat, and she is in it for majority of the day and night. And then the third thing is that they only have the time in the past before their coffee gets cold. So they are poured a cup of coffee, they go to the past, and then they have to drink their cup of coffee before it gets cold. Otherwise they could be trapped, or you know, something bad could happen to them. This story just kind of follows a few different people who want to travel back to the past for different reasons, and then we just learn about the characters who both work in the cafe or frequent it a lot, and we find out about their lives and different things that might make them want to travel to the past or not want to travel to the past. We are following characters who, you know, through because of romance relationships, because of illnesses, because of grief and loss, all these different reasons why people want to travel back to the past, and at some stages they want to see if they could also travel to the future. This is just a very sweet book. It's not a book that I have a lot of like criticism about or even praise. It's just one of those really sweet books. These characters they're just lovely. There wasn't anything like absolutely spectacular about this book, but it was just a lovely read for a day and a half that I was reading it, and I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed it, and I think a lot of other people really like this as well. This is definitely a perfect book to like go to a coffee shop with and drink a cup of coffee and read the book before your coffee gets cold. It's definitely one of those lovely books that you could read on a rainy day. And the last full book I finished this week was The Secrets You Kept by Lara Prescott. This is a very interesting historical fiction novel based on true events. It's set in the late 1950s, around 1956 to 1958ish, and basically we are following this I don't know what you call it, I guess this operation by the CIA, obviously kind of in the McCarthy era of the Cold War, where they wanted to publish Russian versions of Dr. Zhivago and smuggle these Russian versions of Dr. Zhivago through the Iron Curtain into the Soviet Union, and basically use Dr. Zhivago to cause unrest amongst Russian citizens at the time. I never knew that this ever happened. I never knew that Dr. Zhivago was used as propaganda in this way by the Americans in the Soviet Union, and I just think that's absolutely so interesting. So this kind of follows a few different people. We are following this woman called Olga, who was actually Boris Pasternak's the author of Dr. Zhivago. We were following her. She was his mistress, and she is apparently a very big inspiration for Lara in Dr. Zhivago, and she was actually interrogated and put into labour camps at a couple of different points in her life because of her connection to the author. And then we were also following women who work with the CIA and basically helped smuggle these, first of all, get a copy of Dr. Zhivago when it was originally published in Italian, and we are following the women who basically helped that happen. The author of this, Lara Prescott, she has taken like fictional liberties and has created these characters, and we are getting some really interesting points of views from different women within the CIA. We are getting points of view from these women who are basically called like typists, who are basically a little bit like secretaries, but a lot of them had jobs like during World War II, some really cool kind of like spy jobs, and now that it is back, like obviously World War II is over, the men are back at their jobs, and these women are kind of pushed back into kind of homemaking roles or secretarial duties when they were used to doing more, and we were seeing both the frustration and, you know, a lot of time just the cleverness of these women and the way they are able to kind of go unseen by the men at times, and the information they were able to take in and know, and things they see, and it's really, really interesting, the things they observe. And we are following a couple of different women who are kind of bigger parts of the CIA. They aren't just like typists, but they are used as kind of in more of a spy area. One of them is called Irina. She is one of the women who help smuggle Dr. Zhivago into Russia. And I really liked how this was written. I really liked just getting this fictional story about something that actually did happen, kind of a fictional story about a historical event, and what could have happened, the people who could have been involved in it. I just found it really, really interesting. I did find there were I did feel like I kind of felt going into this, I was waiting for this like really wow moment that would make this book a 5 stars, and when I realised that wasn't going to happen, I thought maybe it would be a 4-star read, but it did actually end up being a 3.5 out of 5-star read, because particularly in the character of Irina and another character called Sally, I was expecting just more from those characters, and I didn't really feel like I got enough from them. I feel like there was the potential in those characters to be a lot more, particularly with Sally, because she had a really, really interesting background during her time in World War II as well. And I feel like, yeah, I just feel like there could have been more there, and there just wasn't. But I did really enjoy the writing in this. I really enjoyed the story and just learning about it. It was so interesting. So I definitely recommend people picking this up if they are at all interested in this. And I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars, as I said. So that's everything I've read this week. Please let me know what you guys think, if you've read any of these books, what you guys are reading now, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye!